Hey guys, Andy back here from Mediocre Hobbies. This video is all about terrain. So I don't know about you guys, but the last time that Kill Team was released, I ended up buying a lot of the kill zones, and I'm ashamed to say that I didn't get around to painting most of that scenery. I'm hoping with this edition of Kill Team, that's gonna change. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do a bunch of videos based around getting the scenery from the kill zones coming out in the future, done really quick, really effectively, and only using a couple of paints. So the first batch of scenery is obviously the orc scenery from the Octarius box, and that's what this video is going to be all about. So stick around at the end and see if I can get the orc scenery done really quick, really fast. Thanks guys. Okay, I thought I'd start with a quick look at what it will look like when we're finished up. This is the result that I'm aiming for in this video. So if you like it, keep on watching. So it is a very simple technique. For most of the painting, we're only going to use those 3 pots of paint that you can see behind me in the video. It's Rhinox Hide, Rise of Rust, and Lead Belcher. The 3 main colors to get these guys from looking like black primer to a nice rusty building. So the first thing I'm going to do is Rhinox Hide. This is just going to provide a base coat for all those rich oranges and metals that we're going to be putting on it later. So it's very simple. All we're trying to do is get a nice all-over coat of Rhinox Hide. You do not have to worry if you miss some of the cracks and crevices. Like I said, this is supposed to be an imperfect technique. We're trying to just get just the idea of brown everywhere. So I've gone for a large base brush, loaded it with Rhinox Hide, and I'm just going to go to town. So here's me trying to get all the bits and pieces that I want to be brown. All the corners, all those little struts. As you can see, there's so much detail around the ends of these bases, the piles of scrap metal and material. Like you don't have to worry about getting into all the nooks and crannies, just as much as you can. And that's the kind of coat that we are trying to achieve. So I'm not going to show you applying brown all over the model. It'll be quite a boring session, so I'm just going to jump ahead now. And this is what it should look like when it dries. So this is an all-over coat of Rhinox Hide on these building parts. I decided the best thing to do is to actually show you 2 building parts, so I have a bigger piece as well. The next thing we're going to do is move on to the Rise of Rust. Now the technique that we're going to be using to apply the Rise of Rust is stippling. So I've loaded up a large flat dry brush with Rise of Rust, and I'm just going to stab at the scenery to create this mottled effect all over it. You do not need to be neat, you do not need to be tidy, there's no specific places to put this. Literally just load up your brush and start stabbing. If you feel like you've put on too much someplace or too little another place, just wait till the dry brush stage later on. You will be shocked at the result that you will actually achieve after you tidy it up with a dry brush. It's actually one of my favorite techniques to do. If you have old gnarly scenery, it looks fantastic for things like Necromunda scenery and stuff like that. This effect is just great to get a huge quantity of scenery done really fast. Okay, now here's what the 2 pieces of building look like when I have stippled them with the orange all over. I think it's already starting to look pretty good. Definitely a bit of more vibrant color to it other than that brown. So what we're going to do now is we're going to move on to an optional step. You can leave all of these parts as rust if you want, but I like to add a tiny bit of extra color. And that's on those like banner poles or whatever you have on them, the signs on them with the orc glyphs. I'm going to pick them out with a couple of different colors just to give you guys the idea of like all the different orc clans you can do. So I'm going to do 2 of them in red, 1 of them in blue, and 1 of them in yellow, just to give you guys an idea of how it works. And it's very simple. We're going to start with a base coat of the red. And we're going to feather this on all around the sign, excluding the skull. Once again, this is orc. Imagine an orc kicking a little grot out with a paintbrush and say, paint that sign. It's not supposed to be neat. It's not supposed to be tidy. There's not supposed to be like perfectly smooth paint coats. So just get a rough idea of red on the sign. Should look something like this. As you can see some brown showing through. You can see the brown showing through all the cracks. Same with the ones that I've done blue, and on the side I've done the yellow one. Nothing spectacular, just done. Those are those 3 colors. Next, grey seer. I just find this is a fantastic color to kind of substitute white for. It's a little bit more dark, a little bit more grungy. Same thing as before, we are just going to paint the actual embossed bit of the sign, so all of the orc skulls and glyphs. Once again, I'm not trying to get this beautifully pristine white coat. They wouldn't have that on those signs, so we won't have them here in our scenery. I actually find this to be quite a therapeutic part of the painting. There's those nice neat lines. Cool, so this is what the building should look like after those signs have been done. A little close up there so you can see how much of it I've actually left not painted. Obviously you guys could pick out other details if you want to, the jerry can or the doors or anything like that. But we've got a lot of scenery to get through, so I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to focus on the signs, and then everything else is going to look like scrap rust. So the next thing we're going to do is move over to our lead belcher. And what we're going to do with this is we're going to give it an all over dry brush just to catch all those edges. Like I said, most rusty materials, you'd be getting scuffed along the edges, which will bring back that silver. So load up our dry brush and just start dry brushing. This is one of those things where it's a real imprecise dry brush. You can have more in some places, less in another. You don't need to worry about it too much. One of my favorite things is how this looks over the signs, because we're going to obviously hit the metal signs with this as well. And I think it just adds a really nice effect. Already you can see that it's changing the model entirely from just brown and orange to actually looking like rust. I find this to be a really enjoyable part of the painting process. Really tying all the different colours together. There's a close-up of the gnarly wrecked sign. And we're just going to continue on with the silver dry brushing all over anywhere we did the brown and orange, and on all the signs. So basically the entire scenery piece. Nearly finished dry brushing up this first piece. If my camera would like to focus on the scenery piece as opposed to my hand. But anyway, this only took a couple of minutes to do. In total, I reckon this entire scenery piece has only about 5 minutes worth of brushwork to it. If you can't find 5 minutes in a day to do a bit of painting, I don't know what you're doing. Here's a side-by-side shot of before and after the silver dry brush. And as you can see, it changes the model entirely. And with that, I've managed to get these two scenery pieces up to that rusty standard with just these 3 paints. Obviously the signs are different colours, that bit is optional, but just the rust part with 3 paints and no time at all. I'm really pleased with how this turned out. And for the extra bit at the end, I'm not sure if many people knew this, I didn't know this until I constructed these scenery pieces, that they are actually designed to fit together and push together. And there we have it. I'm going to call that video a success. We managed to get the orc terrain painted up to this standard in no time at all. Excluding the orc glyph signs, we only used 3 paints to get this done. Nice, rusty, ramshackle building. I'm super pleased with how that turned out. I'm going to spend maybe an hour tomorrow finishing off the rest of that scenery from my box set and just having that all done. And yeah, I'm really pleased with the result. If you guys enjoyed the video, if you found it helpful or useful, maybe think about subscribing to the channel. I will be releasing a bunch more videos like this in the future. And if you like the video, give it a like. Any comments below, I try to answer every comment that people leave, asking me any questions. So yeah, thanks a lot for watching, guys. See you in the next video. Remember, the plan is simple. We paint them all.